Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with the preview of Third Reich events. Okay, this is going to be a bit of mod talk as well as playing the game here, but hope this is interesting. It is a spoiler for the mod, but there will be a lot more right now. I was saying in the last episode, we're about a little over 150 events. I'm aiming for about 400 or so plus events by the time of release. Okay, so we've achieved the national focus of the first Vienna Award. Okay, well, so the negotiations between Czechoslovakia and Hungary are deadlocked. As we saw in the last episode, and so they asked, the Czechs asked the four powers that secured, guaranteed or whatever the security of Czechoslovakia to mediate the Czech Slovak, or not, Czech Hungarian war, almost a war going on there. There were some, border skirmishes, not divisional size things, but smaller going on. That had, by the time the negotiations started, had largely stopped, but they're going on in that deadlock. So they asked them to mediate the conflict. Well, France and Britain said they'd have nothing to do with it. They weren't going to do any situation, but Italy and Germany said sure, and so they met in Vienna. That's why it's called the Vienna Award. And since they already called it the first Vienna Awards, it was really just the Vienna Award. The later one was the second one, different one. So these were the basic four guys who settled this, as opposed to the heads of state before. We got Jakob von Ribbentrop for Germany, again Count Ciano for Italy, and Czechoslovakia is, try to scan this quickly here, Foreign Minister Shevkovitsky. Sorry, I'm butchering that, and I probably shouldn't even go after the foreign minister. Well, Kenya, yes, Kenya here for Hungary. Vienna, basically, I'm sure the Italians are involved, but basically it's Germany saying okay, in which they've already sort of done it because of this is just a tack on an event to the effect here is this region of the border is turned over to Hungary. So good. This gives you, that event is just give you more than just a little pop-up for the award thingy. So now we've got that. Now we've got the flag for the breakup of Czechoslovakia, but I wanted to make sure that this happened after the first of the year, or started that time after first of 1939. So I put a time star on. Again, if you want to give feedback on that, I think it's too early, too late, too whatever, I'm glad to hear what you're thinking. But so we did that partially. Again, I'm not building TRE to be a restrictive straitjacket, like you must go down the historical path. No, absolutely not. And it's not meant to be that way. But things happen because of certain conditions. They don't just happen because it's Tuesday or the Führer feels like it. I've watched some good documentaries on the Munich crisis, and basically some of the fairly high-ranking generals, including, I'm forgetting who right now, I should look these things up before I start talking about them, but including this sort of area commander for Berlin at this time, Halder, maybe? Don't know. Sorry if I'm getting this all wrong. And was ready to do a coup against Hitler over the Munich crisis if, and this was a very big if, it was communicated to the British, if France and Britain declared war and made a major offensive against Germany. So if they just declared war and sat in their Maginot Line, they wouldn't do it. Now that didn't mean that the offensive had to get to like Frankfurt or any specific thing, but just go on the offensive. Then, because they didn't think the army and the nation were prepared for it and didn't want to go to war, then it would give them enough of a reason to have a coup against Hitler and the Nazis, an army coup against them. But there had to be a war and had to be a major offensive. Now I've thought about trying to mod that in to it. If you go to war, basically there's some significant descent levels if you go to war, which makes obviously or national unity hits. Basically the worse the national unity is, the easier it is to surrender. So it's conditions. Germany wasn't really prepared to go to war, and so if Hitler in 38 say, oh, we're invading Belgium or we're invading France, the army would have said F you and gotten rid of him. He could not have just decided to invade France at this time, because the Fuhrer says so. Now in 1941, after you've had the, if you will, miraculous victory over France, coming in, blowing past everything else, and Germany looks unstoppable, then Hitler could just say, oh, we're invading the Soviet Union. The army says, yes, sir, and we'll go do it. That's part of the reason for the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, was to, obviously to get your spheres of influence with Soviet Union, so that the Soviet Union very well wanted Poland, or good chunks of it, and wanted to have invaded, preemptive invasion against Germany, but might have decided, oh, well, you're invading, we're going to move into the defense of Poland, come to its defense, take it over, yes, but come to its defense, and liberate the people from freedom and put them in communism, but in the defense against the German invaders. And I think that the German army saw that as a real possibility, and so had you not had the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact to show the army, well, we don't have to worry about the Soviets intervening, we've got this covered, they're going to get their portion of the country and we're going to get ours and it won't be a problem. And since by this time the Western Allies have backed down even over the full invasion of Czechoslovakia, we know they're not going to do anything, because that's what they believed. Hitler truly believed that they weren't even going to declare war. So with that was, hey, there's going to be no major war. That's how he convinced the army to go along with the invasion of Poland. And so I'm taking that into account here. So some of these people that might want to rush down the national focus tree or do things, that's playing, I don't know, the game of Risk or something that has these countries out there. I'm looking at a mod and a game that has based in the realities of the world at the time. So, with that in mind, it's not that you can't go faster, meaning, I might change the time for completion here. And also, this is also partially because I've changed this time completion down to, 28 days now. So obviously you can go through this faster, and that's part of the reason I slowed this down by doing a year date here. So it would have been over 40 more days had you had to go through the full 70 here. And of course I've also, this is down to what, like 10 or 15 days to do. So you could push through, and that's one of the reasons, because you could have pushed through down to here to the 4-year, continuing the 4-year plan. you could drive through it that much faster. So that's why I've done a hard date for it. So that's some of my thinking behind some of these hard dates. Again, it's not meant for it happening only on the historical date. It's meant that it takes time to get the Sudeten crisis, takes time to deal with the Vienna Awards, which happened much quicker after the Sudeten. That's why I've shortened the time period after the Sudetenland was taken instead of the generic one, to again to match the reality of the situation. But it takes time to break up Czechoslovakia, so you can't jump into that immediately. And so this also encourages you to do other things, so we're going to do U-boat effort. I think that would be a fun one to do. We're going to do U-boat effort next. And of course, we are in, November 30th, 30 days. If you wanted to just do no national focus for 30 days and jump straight into it, because obviously this will start after the 40 days into 1939, so you can do that if you so choose, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to keep a national focus going. Okay, the Carpathia Ukraine. This is something I didn't learn about until very recently, until doing these things, these events here just the last couple days. Okay, I knew about Slovakia and its push for eventually independence here. Another group that was pushing here and did it almost simultaneously. Well, they were going along the path simultaneously. I don't know the dates of when they declared it, but they originally called Carpathia Eurythania or whatever, but a lot of them were in this region out here were Ukrainians ethnically, obviously not nationally because there was no Ukraine nation at the time, but so they declared their autonomy within the Czechoslovakia. I don't know that they were, unlike the Slovaks, I don't know that they really wanted independence, because obviously a lot of them did see themselves as Ukrainian. Ukraine was owned by either the Soviet Union or Poland, or whatever they thought. Ukrainian regions were owned by somebody else, and might get swallowed up by Poland, or who knows, the Soviet Union maybe, if they invaded Poland. But so they wanted, I think, to be a part of a larger defense establishment, but they wanted internal self-governance. So basically, as soon as they declared, Prague accepted it. And so it was sort of the combination of both this and the Slovaks getting their autonomy that create the federal state of Czechoslovakia, and which that, in a combination with the losing of the territory here, creates the second Slovakian Republic. Okay, and I'm leaving this sort of stark, though I'm thinking maybe about a different background here. This is the original event image here. Basically, they, in this and this little region here, the hold the Reich of Sudetenland. They hold elections. Do you want to be part of the let's see what we have officially. When I'm talking extemporaneously about this, I like to call this historical commentary, because I just going off of memory. When I write the text, I look it up. So if I'm saying things wrong, that doesn't mean that. But I'm more careful about what I write down, and often just from Wikipedia, so it can be wrong. But I do look those up. And so, do you support? Basically, you have the choice of supporting the NSDAP and Adolf Hitler, Konrad Henlein and Karl Hermann Frank, or not. So sort of these questions here and these people, because that's Adolf Hitler, that's Konrad Henlein, that's Karl Hermann Frank, tells you sort of the importance within the Sudeten region these people have in that order. And then this is Ja and Nine. So they don't even, have the circles the same size parallel to each other or something. So basically, do you like these people or do you want to get beaten up? And 97% of the people vote that they like that. And I'm sort of serious to some degree. It's, do you like these people or do you want to get beaten up? It's sort of that kind of thing, because I don't know that, I don't know, and this is something I'm saying, I don't know that these were secret ballots, meaning you got to go in a booth, make your mark, fold the paper over, and stick it into the box, like how we would hold an election in America kind of thing. A little more sophisticated, at least in California, where with little sort of mark things, but it gets put in a way that the people watching you don't get to see what you're voting for, and it goes into the hopper, and then we don't know which ones put in which ballots once you're in there. I have a large suspicion that you walked up to a table, they handed you the ballot, they were looking at one side of the table, you were standing on the other, and you marked it and you handed it in. That's my suspicion. Again, I don't know, but that and the big central thing here. So I think they would know the little less than 3% of the people if they wanted to know who voted against them. Now, whether they were particularly brave people or just Czechs that were still in the Sudetenland or what, or particularly locally influential people but weren't Nazis. Now, a lot of, I will say, I believe well more than 50% of the people agreed with joining the Reich. Okay, joining the Reich. I guess I should say Reich. They wanted to be part of Germany. That is definitely, I believe, a majority opinion. But that doesn't mean that all the people that joined, some of them were communists, some of them were socialists. They might not like joining National Socialist Germany, but they were also, okay, I've got to stop this. Sorry, I'm back. But there were also a lot of, shall we say, conservative Germans within this group that had supported the SDP, because you've got to remember, the SDP did have a National Socialist ideology, and they were pushing that. But remember, they were the Sudetendeutsch Party. They were an interest party, meaning if you were looking out after your tribe, your ethnic group, you joined this party. It didn't necessarily mean that you agreed with all their party platform, other than the primary party platform of joining Germany, and unifying with Germany. That was a core element of their platform. So there were a lot of, like I say, conservative types, would be members of the Nationalist Party. A lot of people that were, I would presume, centralists, that all agreed that they should join, at this time, Germany. Germany, all it had done at this time, basically had remilitarized the Rhineland, had reunified with Austria, which the Sudeten likes, because the Sudetens were part of the old Austro-Hungarian Empire, and so now that part had rejoined and this part had been part of the Holy Roman Empire, though this, obviously, the Bohemian Moravia region had been primarily non-Germans, but they were part of the Holy Roman Empire. Now this is more unification of the Holy Roman Empire, so that they sort of liked, as opposed to being a small little country in the center of Europe. They wanted to be part of the great big country, and they may sort of presume, I think somewhat wrongly, that, well, whether in time Hitler will lose an election or some other political changes may be, right now, during this time, and I don't really know, I know there's no Communist Party holding seats in the Reichstag, but they weren't all Nazi seats either. I mean, there were a lot of other political parties holding seats in the Reichstag, and so that they may not think that there's going to be an election for president ever again. I don't know how they saw that. Because there had been elections for president, and the president had been Hindenburg until he died, and then Hitler sort of unified the offices, but there were still elections for and deputies sitting from other parties, again center to right wing, no hard left, and I'd have to look up to see at this time just whether the socialists were still allowed to sit in the Reichstag in late 38. But so that they may see that, oh well, hey, we're joining this and we'll be able to vote for our other parties. Well, that's not what happened. So I think 97% of the people were supporting the NSDAP in actuality, I think is way high. That doesn't mean that 97 or 80+% didn't support joining the Reich. They just didn't want, or they didn't necessarily want to support, we're like hardcore Nazis on all viewpoints. It's sort of, so I take that as being, a bit much. Let's you there. Guderian now has 6 divisions under his command. I want to try, once they get a little bit more developed, the Waffen-SS mod, and I also want to try the D-Day Common Units mod, but it's a little late to do that with this playthrough. So far I really haven't been having time to play other than to test or make episodes, which this is a test. So I made changes from my previous test that didn't work. Right, I'm hoping they worked for this episode. Okay, we're going to speed this up again a little bit. I really hope that with TRE you'll want to play it a bit slower. Okay, I'm going to wait a few days. This, as this goes along, this can retroactively be, if you missed jumping on it quick like I like to, that research will retroactively be applied to whatever new tech you want to do it. But once it maxes out here, it won't. You can't just wait forever. So I'm going to wait till the first of the year to do some new. Well, let's make a few more instructors. Start a new research. A few more airports. And okay, we've got the Luft zones. Well, we want to shoot at some bombers coming in there. I don't think these will help against airstrikes, or port strikes I should say, but that would be an idea. The next patch should really help with overdoing the port strikes. You can put a lot of anti-aircraft around a port and put up a bunch of air interceptors around ports and really knock it down. Knock that down if you want to. Okay, and then some more factories. Okay, that'll keep the factories busy. And it's good to put in mountain areas, mountain divisions. They should have less attrition from bad weather and things. Okay, now we've hit the first of the year. And such. So we're going to go. Notice we get a little bit of days in advance, and we will also do... I want to get to more resources quick as I can. So I'm doing that over the other production capabilities. And then we've got more factories online. I want a bunch of anti-tank weapons, so we can do that. NS-Funk, that stands for National Socialist Radio. Funk is radio. In English, interesting magazine. I found 2 covers here, and I thought they were sort of interesting. One, I don't... It's, I think, a weekly, does it say here? Yeah, Weekly National Socialist. To me, that looks like Valentine's Day, the hearts. So they were playing up some sort of Valentine's girls things, but other covers are stormtroopers marching, so it's sort of an interesting thing to see on the newsstand. So basically it's telling you what's on the radio when and that kind of thing. Like a TV guide, but a radio guide. But approved for the National Socialist. And that also shows you it's NS-Funk after the takeover. So it's not just what's on the radio, it's National Socialist what's on the radio. The National Socialists invaded every part of your life. Okay, well, now we've been building, Spear's been overseeing the building and doing the designs for the improved Reich's Chancellery, which, as I've said before, was very much focused, built, designed for to impress foreign diplomats, basically. I'm sure that there were a lot of office work going on in there, or a fair amount, but it wasn't, I don't think, really to impress the German diplomat or German people as much as the foreigners. So this is sort of as you saw the plans, the long side, the short side. This is the short side front of the building, the big eagle there. That the street there, and you see the car park out front, but you can drive through there into this courtyard here, and so the foreign diplomats would drive into this courtyard here, and we brought up to there, so the buildings all surrounding them there. Big. I like the architectural style. Doesn't say anything about the politics. I just like the sort of neoclassical style. So we gain a brief little 5% bonus, whether it's bonus because of intimidation or bonus because of better diplomacy or whatever. All these nations, we hold a big reception there, and so then you come into this long hall through those doors that showed you before outside, and come down here, and then they got carpet at the end of it way down there, and this is that door. So you're marched down all this way. This eagle is used in multiple places around the very large eagle up high, very tall, very big rooms. Again, basically everybody, you're getting a little bonus diplomatically. So then you walk through that door that we just saw into this room with this sort of red marble, fairly big, and then you walk up to this door. That's the sort of eagle that we've been seeing around there, and so you get the size and scale of it. Will it do? And then this is Hitler's office. Basically, I think you enter through these doors here, being brought in as a diplomat into this big sort of office with seating areas, and Hitler's big sort of desk here, chairs. Basically, Hitler never used this office unless for special occasion. And I don't know whether he had a private office within this building or not, other than this. But once Hindenburg died, when Hindenburg was alive, Monday through Friday, he went into the Reich, because he was Chancellor of Germany, he went into the Reich Chancellery office and was in the office for at least most of the day, unless he had something scheduled, going to Frankfurt or something, unless there was some other event scheduled. Every day he went to the office when Hindenburg was alive. Very shortly, within a week or two. Once Hindenburg dies, he never goes back to his office on a daily basis ever again. He mostly moves to Berchtesgadens and runs the country from here. That's becomes the center of power. All the people with power have various living facilities out here, and they come out there and does business. whenever he either flies or takes the train for big occasions, speech to the Reichstag or to there's also, like in here, hands out a bunch of medals photographed at different times. Comes back for occasions. Then he uses this office, and he'll use this office, as we will see coming up, to deal with international relations. I don't believe that this was all completed when the, if I have the dates right, I don't think at all, for the Munich crisis. That's why they were sort of meeting at Berchtesgadens and then meeting a few other places, and then in Munich. Yeah, that's Munich there, I think. Is it Munich? Wherever. No, here's Munich. Sorry, in the wrong spot. Meeting in Munich, obviously where the Munich crisis was, because this was still being built. But we'll later see that he'll use this to deal with international heads of state and stuff. So he'll use this office for those types of situations, but it's no longer going in the office. What's going on today? Once the war is going somewhat badly, he's now living out of the various, often Wolf's Lair and other sort of Führer headquarters dealing with the military stuff. But so this was mostly a propaganda type thing. So we get more support from various countries around, or better relations, I should say, not more support. But our foreign ministry is working hard, intimidating people, making sure that everybody loves the Reich. Sort of have to understand the way the National Socialist regime works is he who has access to the Führer has the most power, and the more access you have, the more power you have. And whether verbally or in some sort of written orders, but both count. If you can get approval for something, you can get that stuff done. So this is a system that, well, the Führer, approves this, and then you go off and do it, that kind of thing. So I'm going to look at that in dealing with some of these, and I did that for the Black Ice version, but I don't have as much freedom here as I'd like. Factory, sorry. What are we wanting to produce? Are we low on anything at the moment? No. We have, well, we're low on anti-tank guns, and we're low on the new tank, only 11 of those. So let's build some more medium tanks. Do we have enough? Not enough. So let's end our Venezuelan contract, and let's get some high quality steel, tungsten, whatever you want to call it, from Sweden. And another factory's online. I'm going to put that to anti-tank guns. We got a lot of divisions, and I want to add an anti-tank gun support unit to it. Now, I haven't added them at this time, but as this is going on, there's starting to be a significant focus on Poland and dealing with the situation in Danzig, sort of causing some trouble in Danzig, because you've got to have a Polish oppression, and that's all happening right now. Okay. That's good. Now I'm going to start production of anti-aircraft bases. That would be useful. Okay. We got that. So we'll now... And we got U-boat effort, but this will allow us to also... Let's do a battle cruiser. Get that producing. Now we're going to shift these guys down, I guess. To make sure that he's got all the resources we can get done. Now, national focus. Now we have it good, just like we want it to be. The fate of Czechoslovakia. There's definitely good reasons for the players, just to simply the game playing element of it. You want to get a hold of the Czech factories as early and as quickly as possible. Okay, now, West Wall. I think this is the final big section of it. So you can decide not to, but the Aachen SAR program. If you notice here, we just have two level 2 forts and level 2 forts here. Now we should have level 3, because they definitely increased there, but also, which isn't commonly known, they extended it up to the edge of the Belgian frontier up here. So I've given them level 1 fortresses there as well. So now we have the SAR Aachen program going on. We're paying for it. Factory construction speed is down a bit. To pay for that. Okay, we have all those going. I want to get more modern weapons into research. And then into production, of course. So now basically our west wall is mostly complete there. And this is when the sort of the program happened, jumping a little bit ahead. So the idea that you get your, even just the French two states worth of west wall so early is very unhistorical. It took them a long time to build. They were putting a fairly lot of effort into it, but they weren't, rushing so fast that they weren't doing other elements of, building Germany, building the arms, building Reich chancelleries, or whatever it might be. So this fits the reality more. And so this also very much tells, at least I would say most players, you don't want to go to war with France until you have your border secure. So you don't want to rush down the line to Poland real fast and start the war there, or do other bad behaviors that could get France at war with you. And even if you're going to try to, I don't know if you ever really think of crashing through the Maginot Line. I haven't tried it with a lot of troops, but you go around, you want to make sure your line is secure first. And it took them until now to do so. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to start researching some of these artillery pieces. So I want to come over here, and since we have built up, pause. We're going to go over to, we have lots of political power up here. We're going to spend some of it and go over to Rheinmetall. And then we're going to come over here. I know we're also doing that research net. I don't know how that flips over, but we're going to do... Maybe I should have waited until that's done to start these others. Don't know. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode here. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for liking the videos, and also if you can go onto Steam, like them there. I want to get visibility shown up, and tell everybody you know about the channel and the mod. Let to have more people know about this, and of course I want your comments, suggestions, questions on the mod as well as the video series as well. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts Fire.